Welcome back to Mobility Matters. I'm your host, Javier Betancourt, Executive Director of the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, or CITT for short. We're the quasi-independent agency of Miami-Dade County charged with overseeing your half-penny sales tax for transportation. And as we've discussed several times on this program, transportation is one side of the coin, and on the other side of that coin is land use and economic development. And the two work, hand in hand with each other and influence each other greatly. And so while we like to talk about mobility and transportation, we also like to talk about how that impacts the business community, economic development, the ability of people to get to work, and vice versa, how those things affect transportation. And so I'm really happy to have as a guest on my program today an old-time friend from our days back in the city of Coral Gables, Rick Alberty. Rick is the Executive Director of ChamberSOUTH. Welcome to the program, Rick.
Avi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
And Rick, I know you're no stranger to the folks watching these shows because you host your own show here on Miami's community newspapers, right?
Well, yes, we do. And we host those shows to showcase our members, give them an opportunity to let the folks know what they do, where they are, and what they have to offer.
What is that program called?
It's called ChamberSOUTH Spotlight. So we want to spotlight our members.
There you go. So first of all, become a member of ChamberSOUTH so that you could be one of Rick's hosts on his program.
Love to have you.
But today, I'm the host. You're the guest. You're in the hot seat. And listen, you're one of the nicest guys I know. And
thank you,
I think really fondly of you. So I'm really happy to have you on here to talk about what you do and how that kind of interplays with mobility and transportation. So first of all, for those who maybe don't know you or haven't seen your program, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I took over ChamberSOUTH 1.5 years ago. And I've always been involved in the community, not always, but I say for the last 15 years or so. I was a community relations liaison I ran a fine men's barbershop in Coral Gables, and I became the community relations liaison. I then was also a community relations liaison for a private wealth firm in Coral Gables. I sat on the board of directors of the Coral Gables Chamber for 7 years, 4 on their executive board, 3 on their regular board, and that really was my calling. I felt that that's what I really wanted to do, is help the business owner try to get more business, try to introduce people, try to expand their networks. And they called me when there was an opening here in ChamberSOUTH. And I applied for the position, and luckily I got it. And I've been here now for 1.5 years. We've gone from 100 members. We're at 294 right now. So
in just that 1.5 years, you've doubled the membership.
In just a year and a half, I've been able to do that, thank God, because I knew a lot of people. Yeah. And, they know that I think they know and see that I'm a genuine individual that's here to try to help them. So besides that, we added 8 board members, we added 3 committees, and we continue to grow on a daily basis, thank God. Everything's going great. That's great.
So tell us a little bit more about ChamberSOUTH itself. So the name implies that it's South Miami-Dade County.
That's
so what
correct.
Communities do you serve?
South Dade has been kind of neglected in many ways for many years. We cover the city of Pinecrest, South Miami, Palmetto Bay, Cutler Bay, and Greater Kendall. It's a vast area. It's a big area. Even though my offices are here in South Miami, believe it or not, the majority of my members are Kendall, Cutler Bay, and Palmetto Bay. So, but we also have members in Doral. We have them in Coral Gables. There's in many of the chambers, they overlap. Members overlap. But what do? We try to help the business owner not only expand their networks with events and things like that, but we also want them to think of us as an extension of their marketing arm. What do I mean by that? I want to promote their flyers, I want to promote their events, and I do that at no additional cost. And I do that on all my social media channels, and I also allow them to send 1 email blast per year. Depending on the level of membership that you are, you may have it up to 3 times a year. So the trustees have that opportunity. So that's included, all of that's included in their membership. We're a membership-based organization, nonprofit, so we survive off members and events.
Right. And I would imagine most of your members are small businesses, however that's defined, right? So 50 employees or less generally?
That's a great question. And really, just about any chamber that you go to, 70 to 75% are going to be small business owners. And then you're also going to have the corporate world, like the UMs, the Baptists, FP&L, things like that. They're always there. Banks, a lot of banks are always giving back to the community. But yes, the majority, about 70%, are small business owners, and those are the ones that need the most help.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. 'Cause I know from my days as Economic Development Director at the City of Coral Gables, where you and I worked together, you were working on behalf of a small business at the time, right?
Absolutely.
That small businesses really are the ones that need that extra kind of help and that access to other businesses for business-to-business transactions, whether it be corporate businesses or banks that might help them with financing. And yet they're so caught up in the day-to-day of just operating their own business that they often don't have the time or the resources to do a lot of those things, which is where the chamber can come in to help.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
They hire, fire, do inventory, make deliveries, and they are so into the job that they don't have really time to, how do I do a business plan? How can I get a low-interest loan? How about organizations like Prospera, Biscayne Funds? There's opportunities everywhere.
Yeah.
Strive 305 right now with Miami-Dade County, helping them. How do I get a permit? How can I speed that process? How? And our job is to try to hold workshops. We try to teach them that, but it's difficult. You got to run a business.
Another role I know that chambers play, and I'm sure you do as well, is to advocate on behalf of the business community for important issues before city councils, the county, the state, the federal officials. And I'm sure that one of the issues that you advocate for is mobility and transportation enhancements. So Miami is booming, and that's great. The downside is there's an impact to our infrastructure, right? And anybody who tries to drive anywhere in Miami-Dade feels that pain. Well, that impacts business, right?
Sure does.
It makes it hard for your employees to get to work, makes it hard for your customers to get to you, makes it hard to move, goods and freight.
Sure does.
And so tell us about that aspect of what you do in terms of advocating on behalf of your businesses and the business community at large to make sure that people and goods can continue to move, to benefit your members.
Well, I'm honored to lead a mayor's coalition meeting, and I think that I meet with all the mayors from Pinecrest all the way to Homestead. Every 2 months we get together, and it's hosted in a different city every 2 months. And that's where we get together as a group and really find out what is affecting every one of those communities. Number one is traffic.
Absolutely.
That's why you see this booming economy right now in South Dade. Now we have a SpaceX center that's been approved. We have a professional stadium sports complex going in Homestead with 2 professional women's soccer teams. Wow. Palmetto Bay is expanding not Palmetto Bay, Cutler Bay is expanding like there's no tomorrow.
Right, we'll talk about this land.
Southland project is not only going to build more residences, but the important part is they're going to have retail. They're going to have business. Baptist is going to open up a location down there. They're going to get their first Flanagan's finally.
Oh, so my favorite place on earth, by the way. Shout out to Flanagan's.
But what does all that do? It's not just that they want to expand and build. It's trying to keep the folks that live there to work there.
Right.
And not have to drive north in the morning.
That's it.
North in the morning and south in the afternoon. You can't get anywhere. And how does it affect the small business? If you can't get there, it affects the employees are late, or people say, there's too much traffic, I'm not going to that store. So it really affects, traffic is number one issue.
Yeah, South Dade has traditionally been what we call bedroom communities, right? So we talk a lot about live, work, play. Well, it was a live place. Exactly. And now with additional job centers, commercial activity, it could be a place to work, and then also increasingly a place to play through the sports stadiums and arts and cultural destinations like the Moss Center. So South Dade is really starting to come into its own as a multi-dimensional place, right? Which is great. And one of the great things about that is, number one, you don't have to travel as far to get to play or to get to work or to get to... It's always had great schools, I should say. So
no doubt.
It's always had great schools and will continue to. So that's wonderful. Now, there is a new service that was launched in October called Metro Express Bus Rapid Transit. So that's a bit of a game changer. There are positives, and then there are some negative impacts, to the surrounding traffic. What is your take on Metro Express? What are you hearing from your members about that service?
I think it's finally getting the recognition that it deserves, because I know that there was a lot of kinks in it at the beginning, but
Sure.
That is a bus service that goes and flows all the way through and should be mostly nonstop.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way to the South Dade corridor, which that's where the majority of the traffic is. So I'm hearing more and more, even from some of the mayors, taking the bus all the way down here, then taking Metro Rail down to,
Right.
Brickell or downtown, and making sure that they have that type of connection. And that eliminates you from driving all the. I mean, why am I going to be an hour and a half in my car when I can be in a bus and I could be working, I could be on the phone, I could be doing other things? Leave the work, leave the car. Don't do the driving, and get some work done.
Yeah, so take people out of their cars so that they could get to work up north, but also increasingly, as you have jobs and shopping and other activities down south, hopefully it will pull customers down south as well.
That's absolutely correct. And hopefully those bus terminals will fill with people going south, not just coming from the south to the north, the people that live there.
And the key to that is something we call transit-oriented development and transit-oriented communities, right? So building up around those stations. And it should be noted, those stations are amazing. These are not typical bus stations. It's not a typical bus service. It really operates a lot like a train in that it's in its own lane. It's got these great stations with air-conditioned vestibules, pre-boarding. It just makes the whole experience a lot faster. Traffic signal preemption, which allows the bus to get through without having to stop. So it functions very much like a rail station. And like a typical rail station, development is going to cluster around those stations so that, yes, you can have a retail location, you can have an office complex, you can have a hotel, you name it, workforce housing. Right by the station, and that will draw people south as well to further help the business community.
I think that is such an important point, because if you can build up around the I'm going to call it the bus station, but around the bus rail stations, that's just going to help everybody out. Mm-hmm. Because if you can get on the bus or arrive on a bus right by your job, that'd be. Yeah. I mean, I wish I could do that. As we spoke earlier. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately,
you got to be in 12 different places on every given day.
You got it on a daily basis. I don't know how you do I got to flow everywhere, so I need my vehicle.
Sure.
If not, I'd be on that bus too. Yeah. I drive all the way from North Bay Village to here on a daily basis, and it takes me over an hour. Yeah. But that's part of being in South Florida and being in Miami. Everybody wants to live here.
Yeah, we're kind of victims of our own success to some extent.
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, if you want to see a place that isn't succeeding, I'm sure the traffic is flowing very freely in those places, right?
Hey, listen, how many people do we know that have left Miami? They've gone to the West Coast and they say, forget it, I just can't take that slowness. Yeah, and they come right back. Yeah. But even though housing has become very, very expensive down here in South Florida, and that's an issue that worries a lot of people also.
Sure. So affordability, we talked about traffic being like the number one issue, right? Right up there with it is affordability. No, the great thing about mass transit is if you can take that reliably and not have to have a car or a second car if you're a two-car family, that saves you a ton of money. And that is money that can then go into housing.
Absolutely.
So it's all tied together.
It sure is. It sure is. And that's a very important point, because if families don't have to buy a second vehicle, don't have to pay the gas or the electrical charge, but come on, let's be real, the majority of cars out there are still gas. Sure. So
look, the car payment alone, it's almost $1,000 these days.
Yeah,
right?
You're absolutely correct. Yeah. You got not only have to pay for the car, but you got to pay for the maintenance of the vehicle, getting the gas. If you can save that money, that can go right back into housing, because right now, unfortunately, there's many homes with multiple cars outside.
Right, of course.
Because sometimes
we're still
it takes
a car culture.
Multiple families.
Yeah.
For paying for a home.
And by the way, not only can that money go towards housing, but it could go towards supporting our local businesses, right? You have more disposable income
You're absolutely correct.
to go to entertainment, to go shopping, to go eat out. So
to go
it's
to restaurants.
ultimately good for your members as well.
Yep, you're absolutely correct. You and I were also speaking about, when we talked about traffic, like I was at the La Boulangerie, which is a beautiful bakery right here off of Sunset. But unfortunately, the traffic is so much that you would think that they would get, street business, walk-ins.
Mm-hmm.
But the traffic is so bad there, car after car after car, in the mornings, that affects their business. So
that's a good point.
The bus is super important if we can utilize that more.
Yeah, so that's actually a good transition towards bicycle pedestrian mobility, right? So it's not just about moving cars or even moving people by transit, but creating places where people feel comfortable to walk, where they can dine outside, creating, a sense of place that ultimately also supports the business community, especially retailers. Now, you and I had that experience in Coral Gables, which is where we first met. I think Well-Groomed Gentleman was on Miracle Mile
Right
itself.
on Miracle Mile.
And we were, of course, tearing up the street for the Miracle Mile streetscape, which today, if you go to Miracle Mile, it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Right? And it did its job. It's attracting businesses.
Sure is.
You have outdoor dining. But at the time, it was really difficult for the businesses, and they were getting killed.
They were getting massacred.
Right,
We didn't have a sidewalk for almost 2 years.
And you couldn't park in downtown, which is why we launched the freebie to try to get people to the businesses. So how important is that, the bicycle pedestrian atmosphere, and then also connecting people to businesses through things like freebie?
That's extremely, extremely important. Because if the people cannot walk in front of your business, then there's a good opportunity they're going to walk somewhere else.
Yeah.
And if they can't walk to your business, and Coral Gables was a phenomenal example. Right now, Coral Gables is booming.
Yeah.
Why? Because streetscape is done. Businesses have the opportunity to get a lot of walk-in business in Coral Gables because you can work there, you can dine there, and you can play there. So they got not only entertainment, but they have all the services that you need. So they're doing a great job with that now that it's done. But yeah, that streetscape, we lost 66 parking spaces, and Miracle Mile went from about a 94% of occupancy to about a 68% occupancy. Remember all the stores that closed?
Yeah. No, change is hard. And
Sure.
I think the city did a phenomenal job of trying to step up to support the businesses. But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do.
Freebies also, that game changer. Trolleys and freebies.
Right. Now, all the cities you represent also have these services. Do you feel like they're doing a good job of connecting their residents or customers to the business centers?
I think we need to do a better job of that, Javi, to be honest with you. I think we need to get the word out a lot more. Me, for example, I'm right here in South Miami. I've never used the South Miami freebie. But I'm not sure, because you and I both know that South Miami, you go 3 blocks and then it's Miami-Dade, and you go 3 blocks and it's Palmetto Bay.
Yeah,
but
it's fractured.
It's correct. It's absolutely fractured. And I don't know if the freebie in South Miami can take you to any of them.
Right.
I'm not sure.
So to your point, and I know you were at our last meeting with South Miami, Coral Gables, University of Miami, the county, and the Underline, where we're exploring this concept of a TMA, Transportation Management Association. The idea behind that is you'd have a small nonprofit that helps to coordinate all of those different services, and perhaps even, helps to run a single service that maybe crosses those jurisdictional boundaries, so that the customer can get from one place to another and not have to worry about who's running what.
You're absolutely if you do that, that could be a game changer. But again, we got to get the word out. We got to get the word out and let people know exactly what is being done. For example, you got University of Miami right across the street here.
Yeah.
Those students, not all of them have vehicles. They need the freebie. They need those trolleys. Those trolleys are great. They're air conditioned. They get from point A to point B, and they're a constant. Every few minutes, you have another trolley coming.
Yeah, students, the faculty, the workers. I mean, everyone should be connecting to UM.
There's no doubt. No doubt. Those are important.
And I have to give UM credit, because the other thing UM has done very successfully, I think, is to discourage too many cars on campus. They're trying to encourage their students and their employees to take alternative modes of transportation, to lessen the traffic impact on the surrounding community. So they've been very successful at that. So shout out to UM.
A shout out to UM. But you know what? More of that needs to happen. And I think that with not only, look at Baptist hospitals here.
Mm-hmm.
You got large organizations all around here that need to probably promote that kind of transit more to their folks.
I love that you keep coming back to promotion, because I think it's an important point. There's an old saying, if you build it, they will come. I've never agreed with that. If you build it and promote it, they will come. But if you build something, or if you offer a service and no one knows about it, they're not going to use it.
Exactly.
Especially in this day and age where people are so distracted with 1,001 messages they get.
You got that right.
You have to break through. And unfortunately, especially when budgets are tight, the first thing that they go after is the marketing budget and promotion. How many commercials do you see promoting transit versus commercials promoting cars?
Oh,
none.
Please.
And so, when you're bombarded with car commercials, and by the way, those cars are always, on some beautiful mountain road with no traffic.
Exactly, right?
You're going to be more inclined to buy a car. So I agree with you. I think we need to do a much better job of promoting the services that we actually do offer.
There's no doubt. I think that's number one. Get the word out and let them know where, how, why.
Right.
Because if we don't do that, it's not going to be used. I wonder how much the freebie here is being used.
Yeah.
I wonder. I know that I see those trolleys are pretty full in Coral Gables, but I wonder how the freebie is doing in each one of the cities. I don't have that information.
We have that information.
You do?
But I don't have it in my head right now, so I couldn't tell you.
Well, but it's
I will tell you, I think the cities are doing the best with what they have. It should be noted that smaller cities tend to get a smaller share of the half-penny sales tax.
Okay.
And that's what they're using to, provide these services. So cities like South Miami, Palmetto Bay, they have smaller populations compared to things like City of Miami or City of Coral Gables. So they have less resources. That's why I think it's important to leverage all of the resources and kind of work together.
That
right?
would be
the money goes further.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, because just like all the mayors get together and talk about their issues and talk about how can we unite and tackle specific issues that's affecting all the communities, same thing for transportation.
Yeah.
If you could do that and you can unite them and make it easier for the folks, it's going to be used more.
All right, Rick, let's get back to you now for a second. We've talked about transportation enough. What would you say your leadership style is?
My leadership style is probably, I'm an easygoing guy. I really am, and I'm a welcoming individual. I try to welcome everyone. I try to, be as easygoing as possible until you give me a reason not to be.
Then we see the other side of Rick.
But in reality, I think that, it's important to let people know, look at them in the eye and let them know that you do care about them.
Yeah.
And that you care about their business, and you're there to try to help them. And try to give them all the resources you possibly can. You guys are a big resource, and we need to get more. You gave a presentation to our board, but there's got to be more presentations to our members as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say one thing about you that I do remember from the Gables is, I was getting a lot of phone calls from some very angry, understandably angry business members. It was just a lot of negativity, which I can totally understand. You were always a very positive person. Even though your business was getting slammed, you always looked at the long term, that this is necessary, let's try to make the best of it. You were always so positive, and I appreciate that.
You know what we did also? Something you got to think out of the box. When situations like that happen, we were paying our members, our clients, we would pay for their valet across the street.
Yeah.
They had a small valet, so we would cover that cost. So Amalini, which was the owner of Well-Groomed Gentlemen, did a phenomenal job, thinking outside of the box with that.
Okay. Who would you say your heroes are, your mentors in life? Who's had the most influence in your life? Professionally, personally, whatever you want to...
I'll tell you what probably had the most impact in my life, besides my parents, obviously, because I got to give them so much credit.
Sure.
They came here in 1960. My dad dropped my mom off, me and my brother, and flew back to fight in the Bay of Pigs.
Wow,
so,
I didn't know that, right?
Yeah, he fought in the Bay of Pigs, and you know how that went.
Yeah.
But, you got to give them a lot of credit to leave everything behind and come here.
Absolutely.
And give us the opportunity to a better life. But I worked at UPS for 20 years. Okay, and I worked there. I started there when I was 18 years old. I was loading trailers, and immediately I went into management part-time and then full-time. Back then, you had to do every single job, so I drove. The training that UPS gave me in those 20 years, I think is what molded me today. Because back in my days, there wasn't a lot of opportunities to get grants or help to go to college. Most of us went to Miami-Dade but paid it out of our pocket.
Right.
So there weren't all those things. So to me, UPS was my college. I mean, all I was able to do was 2 years of Miami-Dade, and the rest was UPS. And I even taught at the University of New Hampshire for UPS.
Oh, wow.
But I taught management school.
Okay.
So one thing that I've learned in my life, you can do any job if you know how to work with people.
Right.
You don't have to know the job exactly 100%. I ran an iron
Fake it
ore
till you
mine
make
in
it. I
Chile.
think.
You know what it is? I ran an iron ore mine in Chile for 4 years. But all you have to do is know how to manage people.
And by the way, that's the one skill set that I don't think AI is going to take from us anytime soon, right?
You're absolutely correct.
People to people.
Exactly. I mean, being able, you know what I tell all my members? Everybody thinks that this thing here is networking and business, and it really isn't. What really makes a difference is talking to people eye to eye, building a relationship, which builds trust, which leads to business.
Right.
It's not just, read an ad and all of a sudden I'm going to do business with you. I got to trust you before I do business. And if I trust you, I'm going to refer you.
It's all about trust. And I would say especially in Miami. Miami is very much a relationship type of town, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't know what that stems from. Maybe it's the Latin influence. It's like there's a lot of lack of trust in institutions, and so you have to meet someone face to face to really trust them to do business. I don't know what it is.
Well, you also, by building a relationship, trust comes automatically if you build a good relationship with them, So I think that's important.
Absolutely. You have any pastimes? What do you like to do for fun? I know you don't have a lot of free time in your job, but...
My pastimes, I do two things. I play racquetball with my two boys. Okay. Every Sunday we play four-wall racquetball. Yeah, I'm old, but we love it. So
it's great exercise.
Keeps me, not only doing the exercise, but it gives me an opportunity to see my sons.
How old are they?
One is 37 years old and the other one's 30.
Well, you started young, Rick.
Yeah, well, I'm 67 now.
Get out of here.
No, I'm 67. I'll be 68 in November. And but, I do that, and also I love to golf.
Golf, okay. Hey, you and Joey can get together and play a round or two.
You got it. Whenever you want.
All right, final question.
Sure.
Which historical figure do you admire the most? If you could go back in time and meet somebody, who would it be?
I think Abraham Lincoln.
Abe.
Yeah, I really do.
Would you warn him about the theater?
I would. Not only would I warn him,
too soon.
I would definitely thank him for being as brave as he was, for doing and taking some of the steps that he did, and caring about people.
Yeah, I think he'd probably come up in a lot of people's lists.
He sure would.
Unique individual.
Yeah.
So listen, Rick.
Thank you, Javi.
You're my Abraham Lincoln.
I appreciate it, Javi.
Just stay out of theaters. And thank you for being on the program. Thank you for hosting your own. Thank you for everything you do. You're really a great guy, and I love how you bring people together and bring out the best in them.
Keep doing what you're doing. It's important, and not only important for the people, it's important for the business. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Folks, that's all the time we have here on Mobility Matters. We'd like to welcome you to learn more about us at the CITT, perhaps apply to become a CITT ambassador or even a CITT board member. You can do that by visiting our website, miamidade.gov/CITT. We'd also like to thank our longtime partners in this endeavor, Miami's Community News, for producing and hosting us here in these beautiful studios. Until next time, keep moving, Miami.